Thanks, Kaylee, for that weather hit. Right now, we're going to welcome on our next guest. We have Jack Dalio, staff writer here at FreightWaves. Jack, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Anthony. Thanks for having me.
So, Jack, jumping into it, we have a story around Amazon. They're now allowing their sellers to use warehouses. What can you tell us about this?
Yes, so this is a brand new service launched by Amazon on Wednesday. It's called Amazon Warehousing and Distribution. It's a pay-as-you-go service, so there's no need to sign an annual contract or anything like that. And essentially, sellers will be able to store their inventory in Amazon facilities. They'll also have the option to connect that upstream storage to the Amazon Fulfillment Network. That will essentially allow Amazon to handle your distribution as well, position the inventory where it needs to be when it needs to be there. The facilities that Amazon is referring to, they describe them as new custom-built facilities. It's not yet clear what those are, but those are the facilities that will be used for this new service. We don't know a ton about this yet, but Amazon said that these centers will include automated distribution and replenishment, and in 2023, the service will expand. Sellers will be able to ship their products to any location, including wholesale customers and brick-and-mortar stores.
Interesting development for Amazon, because they've kind of gone back and forth with what they were saying. At one point earlier in the summer, they were saying, oh my gosh, okay, we don't have as much need for this warehouse space as we thought we did. And then a couple weeks ago, they were like, no, we're doubling down on our warehousing strategy. So they're kind of flipping and flopping back and forth between their personal needs and then catering to their clientele, right? Are we going to see them either purchasing more warehousing space or building more warehousing space now? Or are they going to look at converting some of what they've already had, what they've already built, into now this customized space that you're talking about?
It's a great question, Kaylee, because as you know, Amazon's warehousing situation has been in the news a lot recently. To me, the release of this new service, it signals to me that Amazon is really confident in their warehouse situation right now. If you're unaware, so far this year, Amazon has closed down 15 active facilities, and they've canceled the construction of another 27. That's data as of this morning from MWPVL. That's a supply chain consultancy that keeps an eye on Amazon's facilities. According to Mark Wolfrat, who's the president of MWPVL, that's highly unusual. He and I spoke last week, but he also noted that the situation is most likely more severe on the outside than it actually is. So Amazon is still in the process of building several multi-million square foot mega warehouses. 3 of them are in construction right now in California, Colorado, and New York. And Wolfrat also mentioned that Amazon, which has delayed 24 facility openings this year, could just be holding those facilities until more volume comes into their network. So in his view and in my view, Amazon is heading in the right direction here. They're not really slamming their foot on the brakes, as some might be saying. They're really easing their foot off the accelerator for now and are prepping up for a pretty big build out, it seems like, in the coming months.
And Jack, I'm sure Amazon wouldn't be doing this unless there was a significant demand for this. Do you see this as a potential situation where Amazon has kind of nailed down or honed in on their inventory management, while a lot of sellers that might not be a part of their direct ecosystem are still struggling with some of their inventory management?
I do, absolutely. I mean, Amazon's fulfillment and distribution network is unrivaled. They've got over 1,200 facilities just in the U.S. I believe the next closest is Walmart with around 500. So it's really not even close, just the amount of capacity and the amount of capabilities that they have. And that's not even mentioning the transportation between those facilities, the fleet size, all the vehicles, all the delivery service providers. So Amazon is really, really well positioned here, I think, to attract a lot of sellers to this service.
So, Jack, when we talk about this, I think it's really, really interesting to see Amazon come in and now be like, okay, we got another piece of your supply chain that we can handle for you. How long do we think until Amazon is just now taking companies and running their supply chains completely from start to finish, from order to fulfillment?
Yeah, it's a great point, because if you think about it, what portion of the supply chain is Amazon not in right now? If you add warehousing and distribution to what they already have, they've got Fulfillment by Amazon, which, as you know, is a huge, huge program. You've got Buy with Prime, which was recently launched. That's an e-commerce fulfillment service. You've got last mile services. You've got procurement services. Even the supply chain within the warehouse. Amazon is building automation and all of these new systems within warehouses. So yeah, they really are essentially have the ability to run pretty much every part of a company's supply chain. And it will be interesting to see if Amazon decides to maybe sort of loop some of these offerings together into one service.
And earlier this show, we chatted about some union talk. Bringing it back to Amazon here, there was a decision around the Staten Island Amazon facility. What can you tell us about the latest developments there?
Yeah, some big news there that came out just yesterday. So the National Labor Relations Board in Arizona recommended to the nationwide agency that it should reject Amazon's objections to a union victory in Staten Island. That took place in March. Amazon filed 25 objections to that union victory, including voter intimidation and coercion. The NLRB then looked into that and just yesterday distributed its recommendation. So now Amazon has until September 16th to file any more objections to that recommendation, at which point the NLRB will either rule that a new election needs to happen or that Amazon needs to begin starting contract negotiations with the Amazon Labor Union, which is the group behind the efforts in Staten Island. So this is a pretty big deal for Amazon unionization efforts. It would be the first facility in Amazon's network ever to successfully unionize. So this is a big deal, and it's definitely something worth keeping an eye on.
Absolutely. And when we talk about Amazon employees wanting to unionize, I know that there's kind of not necessarily controversy, but there's a lot of conversation around working conditions with Amazon, around how they treat their employees, around the stringent expectations that Amazon employees have. Do we see some of those expectations being either kind of lowered or changed when we start building out this warehousing and distribution strategy, if we're talking about a more automated warehouse work?
Yeah, we've all heard the stories about what happens in those facilities, but the idea of bringing automation into those facilities should decrease the injury rate. However, I believe that there have been studies that have shown that even in Amazon facilities with automation, the injury rates are comparable or even higher in the facilities that have automation. So in theory, yes, that should have an effect on safety, but there needs to be some oversight in the implementation of that, I believe, in order for it to really make an impact.
And so, Jack, really just big picture here. What happened in Staten Island? What does that mean for Amazon as a company? Could we see more situations like this throughout the rest of the, world?
Yeah, we already are, I'd say. There's another facility up in Albany, New York. The same group, the Amazon Labor Union, that was supporting the union drive in Staten Island, is also backing them. You also did have a couple of failed efforts in recent years to unionize. There was a facility in Bessemer, Alabama, that famously had an unsuccessful union push. But we're starting to see more and more folks in these warehouses beginning to voice their desire to unionize and begin to organize and actually get the amount of signatures required to have an election or a vote. So yes, we're definitely seeing a little bit of a shift here, I'd say.
It'll be interesting to watch for sure. Jack, thank you for joining us this morning. Of course, we can find your stuff up on Modern Shipper, and your new drone show, I think, drops an episode coming up very soon, right?
That's right. We're going to be having some really interesting guests on, including one that makes a smart mailbox that I think you'll be really interested to hear more about.
Awesome. I didn't even mean to sneak in the drops pun, but there we go. You can catch the Drop Zone here on a monthly basis with Jack Taglio. Thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you both.
All right, right now we're going to toss it over to our first social roundabout of the morning.